It's Mr. D, your teacher at games, and they finally released a new update patch for Pokemon Unite. It's about freaking time, man. And this patch looks really, really good. So let's just go ahead and get straight into it and see what they have in store. First off, they're finally nerfing Buddy Barrier and Score Shield. This is huge. This is meta changing, because Buddy Barrier has been like the meta for such a long time. And this is the reason why it's such a meta change, or it's going to be, is it says multiple Buddy Barrier shields no longer stack on top of one another. That's such a big deal. Like, that's such a big deal. And not only that, the shield got nerfed to just dirt, man. Like the 40% to 25%, that's 15% drop. Like, that's insane. Not to mention the passive HP buff. Like, Buddy Barrier is probably not going to be used all that much now. Especially since it doesn't stack anymore. You're actually going to want to like communicate with your teammates about who is going to use that. I'm guessing Buddy Barrier is actually going to be confined to just supports and defenders mostly. And that's it. Like, this is such a big change. I was shocked to see this, but it is definitely a step in the right direction. Because it doesn't stack anymore, it's actually going to give way to a lot of options with your builds with your Pokemon, which I think is good. It's nice to have the variation instead of just like everyone needs to have Buddy Barrier, because the team fights are what decide the game. And then Score Shield was also nerfed to hell as well. Like, the cooldown for it is now 20 seconds. That's a big change from 6. So you can't just constantly spam scoring. And the interesting thing about this one is it's kind of a nerf on all of the stackable hold items as well, like Aeo's Cookie or Attack Weight. So I wonder if they're going to do anything to try and counter that by buffing those like in a future patch, which I think they should. Because if you got those and didn't have Score Shield, it's kind of pointless. But now that Score Shield is nerfed, I think that's also an unintentional nerf on those hold items, the stacking ones. And then this one's also really big. The shield is now consumed before any other shield, so it's not like the last one once you have all those Buddy Barrier shields, which are smaller now too. This is awesome. I'm very, very excited about this to see how the meta changes, and it's just going to make way for a lot more fun and unique builds and different Pokemon. Now, in classic Nintendo fashion, some of these changes don't have exact numbers, so this is just what I have. But Greedent doesn't go as fast. Also, with Covet, they made a change, so it's I don't think it's straight CC anymore. I think it's a slow with Covet. That's actually a pretty big nerf, but a welcome one. Greedent, especially at the top levels of play, is just a monster, so I think that's a good change. Now, Blissey, it's just a big change on how Blissey actually works. And it's going to put Soft Boiled and Egg Bomb as like the top picks for its basic moves. Because Soft Boiled and Egg Bomb, once you learn both of them, it actually gives you 4 charges for each ability. So you could throw out 4 Egg Bombs or heal 4 different Pokemon on your team. It's kind of crazy. But if you don't learn them together, you still only have the 2 charges per ability. It's so paramount that you actually learn Soft Boiled and Egg Bomb, which I kind of don't like. I don't like it when moves play off of each other, because that's only encouraging a very specific move set instead of allowing for creativity and different play. And then if you learn both, it's not just that you have 4 charges in each one, they also share an 8-second cooldown instead of 12 and 9. So it's like, if you're gonna play Blissey, you almost like have to play this now. Kind of curious to see what this is. I actually really want to try it out, but 4 eggs for each move to use at your whim, so whatever. I'm not sure if this is a good change though, because again, it's forcing players to play a specific way, which I'm not a huge fan of. So apparently they don't think Doraledon got a big enough nerf last time, so they're specifically focusing this time on Dragon Pulse. Again, just the numbers are going down, just less damage is what they're focusing on. I have to admit that the nerf on the last one that they did, I felt like it didn't really have an impact. I was able to play Doraledon, and I felt like I was still doing just as much work as I was before, and I was able to get kills no problem. So, maybe this nerf is called for, you know, we'll see. I feel like I didn't see Doraledon played all that much, to be completely honest, but Doraledon was still pretty strong, so I think this nerf is a good call, but I hope it's not too much to where Doraledon just falls off the face of the earth. I hope it doesn't like go the way of Cramorant, where they nerf it and just no one plays it anymore. And now with Alolan Ninetails, they're actually nerfing specifically the Aurora Veil playstyle. The healing in particular, they are reducing how much healing you get from your auto attacks after using Aurora Veil. I did predict that the Aurora Veil build was going to get used a lot, and Ninetales is going to be picked up a lot more after they buffed it, I think 2 patches ago. And I was right. It started being played a lot more, specifically the Aurora Veil playstyle. So I think this is also a good change that, you know, they're just bringing it in line a little bit. It's always obnoxious in games, you know, like this, MOBAs, where one specific playstyle is the meta, and it's like you have to play that or your team is not going to be happy with you. It's kind of frustrating. So this is nice that they're nerfing this, and that they're trying to bring the other, you know, moves back as a viable option. I think that's good. And then to make those other builds more viable, they are actually buffing Blizzard. Stun duration decreased, but the width is increased. So I don't know how much of a... I don't know if that's necessarily considered a buff, because they're just kind of like balancing it out a little bit. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see. And then we have Talonflame Nerf. I feel like Talonflame has actually been a really solid pick for a long time. Sometimes seems a little too strong, but I don't know if I agree with the nerf on Talonflame. I think they just need to buff some of the other speedsters to bring them more in line with Talonflame. I feel like Talonflame was in a good spot, but yeah, I don't know. If they were going to nerf anything, I think they should have nerfed Fly. The ability to, you know, get picks and to get out of combat, Fly is pretty strong. But they focused on Brave Bird and Flame Sweep, mainly focusing on the damage again. So we'll see what that does. I don't think it's going to be that big of a change, but it's enough to just, you know, bring Talonflame down just a little bit, you know, clip some of those wings so Talonflame can't fly as high. Okay, so Lucario. I don't get this, man. Lucario has been top dog in Pokemon Unite for like the longest time. It is the best all-rounder, period. So I don't really understand why they're like, oh, just be careful. Like, no, give it a good nerf and then see what happens and make the appropriate adjustments. But in the last couple patches, they've just done like these tiny little changes. And this, to Extreme Speed, this nerf isn't really that much. I mean, only 10 like point drop in base damage. I mean, I guess the ratio is bigger. Like, I don't know. Doesn't really seem like enough. Lucario is too strong and has been for a long time. They either need to buff the other all-rounders or give a more sizable nerf to Lucario instead of just these tiny little changes one at a time. Kind of the same deal with Koopa. Koopa is so good. Very, very strong pick as well. They did just do some nerfs, more sizable than Lucario's, but I guess it wasn't enough, so they're doing some more. I'm hoping... I think that this will be enough. We'll see. I think the main thing they need to nerf, actually, is the Unite move. Koopa's Unite move is bonkers. Very, very strong. So with Trick, they're nerfing the shield range and the auto attack range. You know, the attack range that comes from your ally that you just shielded. Cooldown is longer. And Trick Plus, they're reducing the healing that you get from it. So that seems like a pretty good nerf. Not anything too crazy. Trick actually became way more popular than I thought it would. I thought the portal ability was going to be like the move. It actually did not like take off as much as I thought it would. So Trick became a lot more popular, so I think a nerf is due there. Shadow Ball, a nerf is definitely due. Wow, it used to be 1.2 seconds. That's pretty long. So 0.8, I think that's definitely a just nerf. Like, that's a good one. Phantom Force, I never see like anybody pick this. So they're actually buffing it. Huh. So I guess this nerf is more focused on just bringing Hoopa's builds of Trick and Shadow Ball, which is like been the most popular one, down just a little bit. I still don't know if Phantom Force will be picked up. That's pretty good though. Every 4.5 seconds and a 40% slow. So I guess we'll see about that. All right, Zeraora gets a little bit of a buff on Discharge. The shield in particular is what gets the loving here. I think that's totally fine. I don't really see Zeraora that much. I remember I kind of freaked out a little bit when they gave Zeraora a buff in a previous patch. I was thinking, like, why? Like, Zeraora seems fine. But this is just a little love letter, I guess, Zeraora. It's not too much of a buff. He seems okay right now. A good pick, but not absolutely bonkers. I think this is fine. Now, Aegislash. I actually just played Aegislash for the first time. and thought it was just like okay, nothing that spectacular. I probably was playing it terribly wrong, but a buff I think is a good thing for Aegislash. Again, earlier I was talking about how all rounders other than Lucario are just Lucario beats them all. So a buff to any all-rounder, in my opinion, is a good one because they need it. So boosted attack, the one where he like dashes through his opponent. Ratio increased and additional damage is 6% to 7% of target's max HP. That's good. All right, and then the boosted attack when you're in shield stance, the healing was buffed. So either stance gets a buff when you do your boosted attack. So I think that's a good change. Wow, the stun duration was increased by a whopping 0.5 seconds for Sacred Sword. That's pretty dang strong. Then the triangle attack part of it is good. Dash attack, yeah, just overall buffs for Aegislash. I think most notable is this stun duration. That's double. Like that's a whole second. That's actually pretty dang good. And then Trevenant is definitely the winner of this patch. I think it's great because Trevenant has been largely ignored and hasn't really been seen as much of a defender. Like his release was pretty anticlimactic, and so it's nice to see the tree get some love. It's wonderful. Branch Poke, especially, it heals now. That's just a new mechanic. That's awesome, and overall it just gets a nice buff. So nice with Branch Poke, which I think is one of the funniest moves in all of Pokemon. The damage from the ticks and the final hit on Curse has been just buffed, and they even reduced how much damage it does to Trevenant from 4% to 3%. So that's a awesome change. That way Trevenant, isn't killing himself so much, and he's getting a better trade-off for how much damage he's doing to himself, because then he can, dish out more. With Pain Split, he actually gets more healing back. Instead of just 100%, he gets 120% of damage dealt from Pain Split healed back to him. And then his Phantom Forest, which is his Unite move, huge cooldown reduction. Like these, it's wonderful to see this for Trevenant. This is probably one of the least played Pokemon that I see, other than like maybe Crustle or Cramorant. But I love this. To be frank, Trevenant is just outclassed by pretty much every other defender that I can tell. So I hope that he gets picked up a little more. And Cramorant got some buffs. Like, I don't know. I still don't know why they nerfed it. No idea why. Air Slash fires a 5th blade. Nice. Gatling Bolt Missile, which is the Unite move, actually hits just a lot harder. So that's nice to know. And the cooldown got reduced as well. It kind of reminds me of the buff that they did to Decidueye's Unite move, which was game-changing because Decidueye is now top tier and played like all the time. So it's nice to see this. And it's nice to see that they didn't like forget about Cramorant and that they did that nerf and then they're like, wait, why? And then they, they give this buff. So that's nice. So Greninja finally gets a buff to their Unite move, Water Burst Shuriken. That's a 30-second reduction. That's very solid. But Greninja's Unite move is really weak. So I think they could even buff that even more. Maybe like 114 or something like that. It's a very lackluster Unite move. I don't see a lot of things happen with it. And now, the changes that they did to Azumarill, I'm not sure how I feel about them. So bug fixes, that's definitely a good thing. But Aqua Tail, I think they might be nerfing it to try and bring Whirlpool more into play. It's weird because the builds that I saw online recommended Whirlpool over Aqua Tail, but my personal experience playing, Aqua Tail just felt stronger, and it was a lot more fun, honestly. So, I don't really like this nerf, I gotta be honest. And apparently from these patch notes, again, Nintendo isn't clear on what the heck's going on, but Aqua Tail deals more damage when the target is below 150 defense and less when they're above? Isn't that the point of defense anyway? So why have this extra, like, mechanic to Aqua Tail? That makes no sense. Makes no sense. Again, very sad about the shields. I wish they had kept that in. That would have been wonderful. I thought that was a really cool mechanic to Aqua Tail and made it a viable pick. But at least they did buff the damage overall for both the spot inside and then the outer range where you deal the bonus damage. At least they added that. But Azumarill, I think overall just kind of needed some buffs. Not the strongest all-rounder and just needs a little extra help. These are probably some of the best patch notes, if not the best patch notes that I have seen for Pokemon Unite. Because most importantly, they nerfed Buddy Barrier and Score Shield. I'm so excited that I don't feel like I have to take those every single time that I play this game now. I'm so excited for that. The freedom is wonderful. So I'm actually going to give an A+ to these patch notes. Do you agree with me? Leave a comment down below on what you think. Like and subscribe for more Pokemon Unite content, but other than that, class is adjourned.